Hi, my name's Abby and I work for the City of Casey in Waste Education. So this is just a short session for staff to understand what it is that you can and can't recycle and why you would do it. So the City of Casey offers free bin services to schools, so you can have up to 6 rubbish bins, up to 8 recycling bins, up to 4 garden waste bins and 2 hard waste collections per year. Now, that's probably not enough to take all the waste that the school is going to be producing. So if you wanted to make useful use of that free system, the best option is actually to look at what waste the school is producing and how you can reduce that. So whether you look at a bin audit or talking to the students, getting kids to bring in nude food, those sorts of things, but ways to reduce your waste so that actually that bin service might actually be enough for the school. And in which case then that would save you money because then you're not paying for the skips to be taken away. So I'm going to quickly go through a few things about what can and can't go into the recycling and the rubbish bins that you'll be provided by the City of Casey should you choose to. So first of all, things like white office paper, envelopes and those sorts of things, we actually suggest that schools get a separate paper recycling service because schools do produce a lot of paper. One, it makes our bins too heavy. If they're too full of paper, they're actually too heavy for the trucks to lift. But secondly, in putting all your good quality paper together in the one bin or the one stream means it's much more likely to come back as white office paper again. If it goes into your commingled recycling bin, then it's much more likely to come back as, say, cardboard or as tissues or paper towel, and those two can't be recycled. So in order to make this a much better quality product, we suggest that you actually apply for or organise separate paper recycling bins. Otherwise, with your recycling, the commingled recycling bin, you can pop cardboard into it, that's fine. Tissue boxes, even if they've got a little plastic bit on it, that's okay. Better if you remove it, but it's okay if a little bit of plastic's on it. Egg cartons, all those sorts of things can all go in. Newspapers, etc., they can all go into your recycling bin. Okay, so in a school, these are quite common. These sorts of containers are no longer able to go into your recycling bin. They never really were recyclable. There's too many layers of paper and plastic and aluminium and everything going on in them for them to be recycled anyway. It's too hard to separate it. So these used to be able to go into your recycling bin, but now they need to go into the rubbish bin, including the straw and the Prima, the whole lot into the rubbish bin. Now, what you can do though to avoid that waste is look at the containers that you're buying your milk in. And so this sort of a container or this sort of container are perfectly fine to go into the recycling. So it might just be a matter of changing containers that you buy the milk in. Now for things like alternative milks, that might be a bit trickier and you may still have to have some of those UHT containers, but for the most part, it's actually quite easy to avoid. These sorts of containers where there's a mishmash of a whole heap of different materials need to go into the rubbish bin, including disposable coffee cups. These need to go into the rubbish bin as well. Now, ideally, you can have your own cup. So take your own cup, get your takeaway coffee in your own cup, and then think about how many of these per year that you will not have going to landfill because you've reused your own cup. The lid also needs to go into the rubbish bin, even if the lid is, say, a different colour, because black plastic can't go into our recycling bins. Even if it was white, it still needs to go into the rubbish bin because it's plastic number 6, which is polystyrene, and plastic 6 and 7 can't go into your recycling bin. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Tissues and paper towel can't go into the recycling bin. Now, if you have a compost system at school, these would be very valuable as a brown component or as a dry component to mix with all the food scraps. But if not, they need to go into the rubbish bin. So glass comes in 3 main colours, green, brown and clear. These are all able to go into the recycling bin, but any glass that goes in there has to have held food or drink when you bought it. So no mirror glass, no window glass, no picture frame glass, no drinking glass. Only glass that had food or drink when you bought it, that's ones that can go into the recycling bin. Just remove any lids, and if the lids are metal, they can go in the recycling bin. If the lids are plastic, they can also go in the recycling bin only if they are over 5 centimetres in size, okay? So this size lid is fine, whereas this size lid is a bit too small. Okay, metals and aluminium. So aluminium is one of the metals that you can recycle through curbsides, through aluminium cans is fine. Deodorant containers are fine, provided you have gotten everything out. So not just the deodorant, but the propellant gas as well. The whole thing has to be completely empty, and then it can go into your recycling bin. Aluminium trays and aluminium foil can be recycled. Just make sure all the food scraps are out of this. Aluminium foil, you might find like little bits from, say, chocolates or from Easter eggs and things like that. Gather them together, put them in a bigger piece of foil, because again, over that 50 centimetres is really ideal, especially because it's so lightweight. Steel tins can also go, including the lids, steel tins can also go into your recycling bin. Just give them a rinse, make sure that they're clean. So soft plastics cannot go into your recycling bin. And if you had, say, a bag and you popped all your really nice recycling into it, so this is some beautiful, clean, sparkly recycling, and then I put it into my recycling bin, as soon as I do that, that bag's going to go to landfill because it's going to contaminate everything else. They're not going to bother to check what's inside it. They don't know what's in it. They don't have time to check what's inside it at the other end. So if you put any bag, anything bagged, it could be beautiful recycling. But as soon as it goes into your recycling bin, that bag, the whole thing will go to, this will go to landfill. So no soft plastics at all in your recycling bin. Soft plastics, however, so biscuit packets, muesli bar packets, Ziplocs, all the usual ones that you would find at school, can all go into a separate soft plastics collection, which is at Coles and Woolworths. They collect soft plastics there, but it might even be worth having that conversation around either nude food or even about the sort of foods that we're choosing to eat, because the more packaging something has, generally the less good it is for you anyway. Whereas for fruit and vegetables and snacks like that, there's less packaging involved and you don't have to worry about how you're going to get rid of it. So soft plastics you can take separately to Coles and Woolies, but definitely not in your recycling bin. If you're not going to take them to Coles and Woolies, then into the rubbish bin. Oh, including these sorts of bags too. These count as a soft plastic as well. Okay, so in the school, our hard plastics. Now, in the city of Casey, you can only recycle hard plastics number 1 to 5. So plastics 6 and 7 can't be recycled. They need to go into your rubbish bin. There's actually not that many things that use 6 and 7. Number 6 is polystyrene. And so probably the more surprising one for most people in polystyrene are picturing this sort of stuff, or the big bulky stuff you find around, say, delivered, a fridge delivered or something like that. Expanded polystyrene needs to go into your rubbish bin. But these little containers, small yogurt containers, are also quite often polystyrene as well. So these also need to go into your rubbish bin. But it might be worth, and also keeping in mind this sort of thing, having the conversation around making better choices with containers. So with your students saying, well, this is much cheaper to buy your yogurt in a large bulk container and put it into a smaller containers, rather than buying it all separated out like this, and these have to go to landfill, or in little squeezy packets, which, if you wash them out and dry them out, they can go into your soft plastics collection, but let's be honest, how many people are going to do that? So ideally, if you could avoid them in the first place and encourage them to buy it in bulk because it's cheaper, and these can go into the recycling bin. Black plastics cannot go into your recycling bin anymore. So any black plastic, it doesn't matter what number it is, the fact that it's a black plastic, it has to go into the rubbish bin. Takeaway containers, provided you've given them a good rinse out, these are fine to go in your recycling bin. Biscuit trays are probably the softest hard plastic. So yes, they are scrunchable, but they are the softest hard plastic. Anything softer than this would need to go in a soft plastics collection, but these are okay in your recycling bin. Now, plastic bottles, and I've got a selection of them here. There's a few different numbers of plastic going on here. Any of these plastic bottles are fine, so most of them are either plastic number 1 or number 2 anyway. You just need to take the lid off. So lids off. The lids, however, need to, unless you're going to use them for craft purposes, need to go into the rubbish bin. So lids off all these sorts of bottles before you put them into the recycling bin. Berry punnets, grapes, whichever, not a problem. They can go into your recycling bin as well. And it's little snack packets like this. So this one, for example, actually has the Australasian recycling label on it, which tells us that both parts of it go into landfill. Last but not least is our plastic cutlery, plastic plates, paper plates. They all need to go to landfill. And so maybe, there could be some conversations around, well, actually, maybe we could wash our own plates, or getting kids to bring their own and they pop it in a bag and take it home again, something like that, to try and avoid all that extra waste that can be generated from having, like a party or something like that in the classroom. All right, so this was our very, very, very quick run through of everything. Now, we're more than happy to answer questions or to come out to the school and help, or if you want us to send it to emails. So you can reach us by phone, you can reach us by email, you can have a look at the Casey website. So there's lots of information about what could be recycled on the Casey website, as well as access to the online electronic version of the guide. So you can download that and use that in your classroom if you wanted to. Otherwise, we have a Facebook group, Green Living in Casey, that you might want to find as well. Thank you very much.